Alright, so here's our first tutorial in Ableton Live on workflow. The first thing you're going to do is open up an instance of Ableton. And this is what it's going to look like when you pull it up. First thing that you should know, down here in the bottom left corner, there's this little play button looking thing. Open that up. This is your help window. It's info view. If you don't know what anything is, you open that up, hold your mouse over it, and it's going to tell you exactly what it is. So now we're going to go by step around the outside, just going over the basics of what exactly is out here. Here's your tempo, your time signature, since 4/4 is the default. Here's your arrangement position. We'll go over that in a second. Play, stop, record. Alright, now come with me over to the right side of the screen here and click this button with the horizontal lines. Does this look at all familiar? It's exactly like the GarageBand layout, except your instruments are on the right instead of the left. Okay? Now over here, we have the different controls for the instrument. You have your on and off button, on and off, real simple. Solo, which means that when you click this instrument is the only thing that will play, even if there are other MIDI tracks with instruments playing. This is record. I'm recording right now, so you can see my voice. The volume and the pan left to right. Alright, so without any further ado, let's start entering some MIDI data. Now the first thing we need to do before we can start writing music is have an instrument to play it. So for the sake of simplicity, we're going to be using a drum rack, which is a drum set except in Ableton Live. So come over here to the left to this region called the browser right here and click on the arrow to expand it. Here we are. Now if you don't see this, then click on this little icon here. All these other things are different places, but right now we're in this area. You have 3 folders. Just worry about the instruments one. Open that up and go into drum rack. Stop. If you have not already downloaded the Muse 150 tutorial ADG file from Blackboard, you need to do that right now. And then you come over to your desktop or wherever you saved it, take the file like this right here and drag it into your browser window and paste right here. Bam. And don't worry about that. Yours won't do that. Okay. Now if you look, there it is. This is the drum rack we're going to be using for the tutorial. So click it and drag it over to this area and then drop it. And here we are. You can hide that and expand this. You can minimize these if they're expanded. Okay. Here we go. This is our instrument, our drum set. This is the area where the music is going to go. And if you select it, you can see, you can see down here that you have your drum set, your instrument, and your samples. Now, right now we have a kick drum and a snare drum sound, and they're just sound clips that the instrument is using to play the drum set. Okay. And you can have any number of instruments in here. You see this little area. Each one of these tiny little boxes can hold a drum sample. So really, just many possibilities for sounds. But right now we just have a kick and a snare for simplicity. Now to start entering MIDI data, you come up here to your track display. You select an area by clicking and dragging, just like that. Right-clicking and choosing Insert MIDI Clip. It's Control-Shift-M or Command-Shift-M on a Mac. Now this little grayish box, I guess beige box, is our MIDI clip. And we selected for a 4-bar region. You can tell up here with the numbers. So after you've done that, come down here, make sure that your track is selected right here, and come down to this white box. and click on it. This is our MIDI data entry area. This is the note editor, and these are the samples that we're using right here. This is where all the information on the clip is held. You have your title. We'll just name this one drums. And some information about the clip length and whether it's looping or not and stuff like that. We'll go over that in just a second. If this were a synthesizer, then you would see an entire piano keyboard right here vertically. Right now you only have a white key and a black key, but when we work with synthesis, you guys will be able to see the entire piano roll. For a drum set, this is where your samples are held. For a synthesizer, it's where you're going to play your notes. Anyway, right now, let's enter some MIDI data. Before you enter anything, you need to make sure that you are in draw mode. To go into draw mode, right-click in the MIDI note editor and select draw mode. The shortcut for that is Control-B or Command-B. The way you know you're in draw mode is when you see this little pencil icon. Now go ahead and come over here, and we're going to enter a note in the kick drum on beat 1 of every measure. The way you can tell where you are in the measure is by these numbers up here. The first number is the measure, and the second number is the beat. So here's measure 1, beat 4, measure 3, beat 2, etc. So kick drum on beat 1 of every measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we'll put a snare on beat 3. Alright, let's listen to that. Now your arrangement position will probably be off. To reset it to measure 1, beat 1, just press the stop button. There you go, you see it's reset. Now just press play. There you go, perfect. Now you may have noticed that the drum samples sound a little chopped. They don't sound like a real drum. So to fix that, we need to make the notes longer. The audio will only play for as long as this MIDI note is held. So to make the notes longer, we just need to extend the MIDI note. So exit draw mode, either right click and uncheck draw mode, or press Control-B and select your notes. And now you're going to hold your cursor over the end of a MIDI note until a bracket appears. Click and drag it out. There you go. Now this should sound significantly better. There we go, starting to sound more real. To select individual notes, you can click them or highlight them, just like that. If you had a piano roll, you could select these notes and move them all vertically, transposing them by steps, things like that. But we'll go into that more when we do synthesis. Now, looping. One way to loop is to loop within the MIDI clip, and this way works a lot like GarageBand. If this loop button is on, then you can just take the end of your clip, drag it out, and it'll repeat forever and ever and ever. And you can see these little hash marks where the notches would be in GarageBand. Same exact thing. If it's off, you try to drag it out, and nothing's there. Now, this bracket area is used to loop things within arrangement view. So you can take a section of your music that you're working on, you can loop it over and over again without having to make an entire MIDI clip for it. Essentially looping more than one MIDI clip at a time. Now the way you can do that is you drag your bracket over to where your MIDI clip is, and you press this button, the loop switch. Now this area in arrangement view will be looped over and over again. We can watch that happen. Ready? Back at the beginning.